Hey biology students, this is Miss Miller again, and we're going to continue on with our ecology unit. Today we're going to be talking about section 2, the biosphere. In our previous set of notes, we did talk a little bit about the biosphere, and we're going to expand more on those and biomes today. So, location, location, location. All objects have a place to which they are most suited, like we can find usually a boat would be most suited to be in a lake versus the desert. And we know that ovens would be most suited for the kitchen. Well, the same concept applies to all the living and non-living things that we're going to see in an ecosystem all across our planet. We know that a freshwater lake isn't going to last long in the desert. So if we just put a lake in the middle of the desert, it's going to soak right through all that sand, and we're not going to have a lake. Just like we wouldn't put a cow on a beach because the cow doesn't have what it needs to survive. Each exists in an area where it fits best, but it takes more than location to make that match work really well for that organism. It requires interactions of multiple factors working in harmony for the particular species to thrive in its environment. So here we have all sorts of different ecosystems, and if you notice, they're obviously different colors, but you can see that there's different animals there, that there's going to be different plants there, and that's all dealing with the location. In our previous section, we talked about the biosphere, and this is the area on Earth where everything that is considered to be alive is going to exist. And the cool thing about the biosphere is there is so much variety that is going to exist there. We have things like penguins, lions, red-eyed frogs, we have humans, we have all sorts of different plants, and there is so much life and so many differences within that life, which makes it really, really unique. This biodiversity is unmatched by any known planet. So right now we only know of Earth that is containing life. Obviously we're looking for more life, but it's really cool to see this variety. So biodiversity, bio means life, diversity is the differences. So biodiversity is the variety of life in the world or in a particular habitat or ecosystem. When you look at any ecosystem, you're going to see lots of different organisms that live there. And the reason why that is because Earth has many distinct climates that make it up, and with those different climates, we get different factors and different organisms that survive best there. One thing we need to clarify right away is what is the definition of climate, because students often get climate and weather flipped around on their heads. So climate is the average temperature, average sunlight, wind, and precipitation in an area over an extended length of time. It is not the day-to-day changes or what it's like outside at this very moment. That is weather, okay? Climate is that long-term patterns that we're going to see. So the climate that we're going to see in Wisconsin is we're going to have 4 seasons, and that's going to be different than the climate in other areas. Like let's go down to the Arctic. The climate there is they're going to be long periods where they are going to have very little sunlight. The temperature is going to be very cold, high winds, things like that. So that overall is the climate, what you can expect on a over a long term. These factors are responsible for change in ecosystems and account for the range of environmental conditions on Earth. Here we just have a picture of average temperatures. As you can see towards the middle of this picture, we get the darkest red colors. That would be the highest overall temperatures, and that's because that's right where the equator is, versus the top and the bottom that are those darker blues, because it's much, much colder in those areas. There are 3 general factors that are going to affect climate, and those would include latitude and sunlight, altitude, and then wind and precipitation. So latitude and sunlight are directly related to one another. We know that we have the equator, that is that invisible line in the very middle of the Earth, and what happens there is sunlight is going to strike the Earth directly there. So areas that have land on the equator are going to have the most direct sunlight throughout the year, and therefore they are also probably going to have some of the warmer temperatures throughout the year. So their climate would be generally warm and sunny. Altitude is another factor that can affect this. So higher altitudes tend to have lower temperatures, they have higher winds, they have less oxygen, so it can be really difficult at high altitudes for organisms to survive. Wausau, where we are, generally a pretty low altitude, so there's lots of life in these areas. As you would go like climb up a mountain, let's say like in Colorado, as you're climbing, you might notice that the trees become smaller and all of a sudden the trees no longer exist and it's really, really rocky or just has a few grasses because it's much harder to survive in those areas based on the altitude. The last one is wind and precipitation, and it's the amount of precipitation and wind that is directly related to which plants and animals are able to survive in any one location. So areas that get a lot of precipitation have a lot of water, so they can support quite a bit of life. Areas that have low precipitation aren't going to have the same amount of life. So that's what we see with a difference between like a tropical rainforest, lots of life because there's lots of water, versus a desert, which doesn't have very much life because there isn't much water. What I really want to focus on today is something called biomes. Again, you guys have probably talked about biomes previously in a science class, maybe in junior high or maybe in middle school, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth here. So biomes are large geographic areas that have similar climate and ecosystems, and there's many classification systems for that. The one big thing I want you guys to get in your heads is that location does not necessarily classify a distinct biome. Just because you are on the equator does not mean that you have a desert. Or just because you're on the equator does not mean you're going to have a tropical rainforest. It's those other factors like climate, habitat, and community of organisms that define that biome. And there's going to be 6 major biomes that we're going to talk about: marine and freshwater, so saltwater, freshwater, desert, grasslands, forests, and tundra. One thing that's probably obvious is that biomes that are near the equator tend to have warmer temperatures because they have more direct sunlight and they tend to get more moisture, so they have a higher diversity of species or more life in those areas than areas like the poles. So when we talk about biomes, we're going to break them up into 2 groups: the terrestrial biomes or the land biomes, and then the aquatic or the water biomes. So we're going to start with our terrestrial biomes. We're only going to talk about 5 of them today, but there are several that you could talk about because there's lots of them on Earth. The first biome that we can talk about is the tropical rainforest. So tropical rainforests are found all over the world, but the majority or the largest tropical rainforests lie in South America, in Brazil specifically. So Brazil is huge in terms of landmass, and it is a very, very lush tropical rainforest. So the weather within a tropical rainforest is rainy, yet it's pleasant all year round, and that would be night or day. So when we look at climate, we have lots of sun, we have lots of precipitation, which means lots of water, and we also have temperatures that remain pretty constant. So there aren't big changes. That means that when I look at this picture of the tropical rainforest, there's going to be a lot of life because there's a lot of resources available. That's going to be different than something like the tundra. The tundra is known for being the coldest of the biomes, and it's also known for its lack of trees. It has extremely low temperatures, little precipitation, poor nutrients, and a short growing season. So the reason why the tundra is so different is because the tundra is going to exist closer to the poles. They don't get much precipitation, so they can't support the big trees. If they can't support the big trees, there's a lot less area for animals to hide. And because it's so cold, it's very difficult to survive there. So you're going to see a lot less life in the tundra than you do a tropical rainforest. The next 2 terrestrial biomes that we're going to talk about are the temperate grasslands and the temperate deciduous forests. So the temperate grasslands, it's a division of biomes that's characterized by having lots of different types of grasses, right? That makes sense. Shrubs and trees are not really common in these temperature grassland biomes. So a good example of where we would see these, some people call them the flyover states, or if you've ever heard that song, Flyover States, we would see things like Montana. We would see things like the Dakotas, Wyoming, or the Great Plains is another way that we've stated this. when you look in those areas, you can just see for miles and miles, there aren't really many trees, there aren't many land masses that get in your way. We have some big animals like buffalo out there, but again, it's that thing that we have a lot of grasses that makes that specific. The next one we see here is the temperate deciduous forest. So this would be really common in Wisconsin. The temperate deciduous forest is a variety of forests that have trees that lose their leaves every year, so that they actually have autumn or they have fall. They're found in areas with a warm, moist winter. We see that definitely in Wisconsin. We get lots of rain and we get it pretty warm in the summertime. And we definitely get those cool winters. It's those temperature changes because the difference in light that causes those trees to lose their leaves. And the final terrestrial biome that we're going to talk about is the desert. So the desert biome, of course, is the ecosystem that has a very, very low level of rainfall that it gets each year. And they're also known for being really, really difficult to survive in. They can be hot, but they're not always hot. That's a big common misconception that a lot of students have, is that all deserts are hot. There are actually several cold deserts, which just the reason why they're cold is because they're not necessarily on the equator. So the Atacama Desert is a really common one in South America. The Gobi Desert over in Asia is another very, very cold desert. So they don't get the same amount of sunlight, or their temperatures are much, much different. But they're characterized as a desert because of the low level of precipitation and very little life in those areas. Now that we've talked about the terrestrial biomes, we should also talk about those aquatic biomes. So we know that water covers most of our planet. Therefore, the freshwater and the marine biomes are going to make up a lot of our world. So when we think about aquatic biomes, usually we're thinking lakes, rivers, oceans, and absolutely. And they're going to have a lot of differences between them, especially when it comes to their abiotic factors and biotic factors, but it's going to be many factors that connect them as well. Despite their type or locations on the planet, all aquatic ecosystems depend on the same things, which are temperature, sunlight, and dissolved oxygen to support life. With our aquatic biomes, another big factor that we have to look into is salinity, because that's going to tell how much oxygen is going to be in the habitat. Salinity is how much salt is dissolved in the water, and some organisms can survive in salt, some organisms can't. So we look over here, we have our freshwater goldfish and we have our saltwater clownfish. With our freshwater goldfish, if I put it in the saltwater tank, it's probably going to die. Just like if I put that clownfish in the freshwater, it's probably going to die because it has adapted to live in that specific environment. So because of those differences in salinity, we have 3 aquatic biomes, including the freshwater, the estuaries, and the marine biomes. So let's go a little bit more in depth on what those aquatic biomes are. Freshwater biomes are going to be characterized with our lakes, ponds, rivers, and our streams. So there shouldn't be any salt in any of these locations. When I look at this, the river here would have no salt in it, and that would be a freshwater biome. That's going to be a little bit different from what we call the estuary biome. So the estuary is an area where fresh water from the river meets the salt water in the ocean. So here we have our estuary, where we have the river coming in here and the ocean coming in here. What we need in this area is organisms that are able to survive with a little bit of salt in the water, because in this estuary, it's not quite fresh, but it's not quite as salty as this ocean, so they need to be able to survive. The last one is the marine biome, which most people think of as the ocean. The marine biome is characterized by having salt water in it, of course, and it is going to cover up the vast majority of our planet. So when we think of all of our oceans, those are all going to fall into the marine biomes. Any area that has salt is going to be considered to be marine. If you guys have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, have a great day.